If you live in New Zealand and you've wondered, should I keep renting or should I finally buy? Here are the real 2025 numbers, city by city. In Auckland, the median renter pays about $2,870 a month. Buying the average home with 20% down at today's rates works out to roughly $5,190 a month on the mortgage alone. That's a cash flow gap of about $2,300 every month. Let's test every major city with the same rules and see where renting wins, where buying can make sense, and where the gap is finally closing. What I'm using, all numbers are current to mid-late 2025. Rents are the median weekly rent by council area. Home values are average values by city or district. I'm running the same model everywhere. 20% deposit, 30-year term, and a 1-year fixed special around 4.8%. I'll tell you the monthly rent, the estimated mortgage, the deposit you'd need, and the rough price-to-rent ratio, the number of years of rent it would take to equal the average purchase price. This keeps the comparison fair. Auckland. Let's start where the biggest decisions are. Auckland. Median rent converts to about $2,807 per month. The average Auckland home value sits near $1.219 million. A 20% deposit is about $243,894. On a 30-year mortgage at 4.8%, monthly principal plus interest is around $5,190. That's a $2,300 a month cash flow premium to own, before rates, insurance, and maintenance. Price-to-rent ratio, 36 years. What that means, in 2025, Auckland still favors renting on monthly cash flow. Buying can make sense if you're locking in for the long haul, you value stability over flexibility, and you can comfortably carry that higher monthly outlay, plus the extra costs of ownership. Wellington City. Wellington is the story of a sharp correction followed by a softer landing. Median rent works out to roughly $2,578 per month. The average value is about $818,000. A 20% deposit is $163,655. Mortgage at 4.8% comes in near $3,435 per month. The monthly gap to rent is roughly $856. Price-to-rent ratio, 26 years. Takeaway: Wellington's cash flow gap is much smaller than Auckland's. If you plan to stay 7 to 10 years, value living where you want without rent risk, and can handle ownership costs on top, buying begins to look reasonable. If your horizon is short, renting still keeps more cash in your pocket each month. Christchurch City. Christchurch is the quiet achiever, more balanced than most. Median rent converts to about $318 per month. Average value, roughly $775,000. 20% deposit, $155,000 then $6,000. Mortgage at 4.8%, about $3,253 per month. Monthly difference to rent, around $135. Price-to-rent ratio, 28 years. Takeaway: Christchurch offers one of the most workable buy cases among the big cities. The gap is under $1,000 a month before ownership costs, and stock is still relatively attainable for first-home buyers. If your income is stable and you're planting roots, Christchurch is a credible buy-and-hold market. Hamilton City. Hamilton keeps drawing first-home buyers and investors with commuter city fundamentals. Median rent, about $2,427 per month. Average value, roughly $785,000. 20% deposit, $156,928. Mortgage at 4.8%, about $3,200 per month. Monthly difference to rent, around $867. Price-to-rent ratio, 27 years. Takeaway: on month-to-month cash flow, renting is still cheaper, but the gap is moderate. If you want a city with a shorter step up from renting to owning, Hamilton compares well with Wellington and Christchurch. Tauranga City lifestyle draws are strong, and so are the numbers. Median rent comes in near $2,990 per month. Average value, about $1.3 million. 20% deposit, $206,000. Mortgage at 4.8%, roughly $4,323 per month. Monthly difference, about $1,333. Price-to-rent ratio, 29 years. Takeaway: renting still wins on monthly cash flow in Tauranga. People buy here for lifestyle and long horizons. If that's you, make sure your budget includes rates, insurance, and maintenance beyond the mortgage. Dunedin City student energy, tight winters, practical numbers. Median rent, about $2,123 per month. Average value roughly $637. 20% deposit, $127,399. Mortgage at 4.8%, around $2,674 per month. Monthly difference to rent, roughly $550. Price to rent ratio, 25 years. Takeaway: Dunedin has one of the smallest gaps between renting and owning among the main centers. If you're confident you'll be there at least a full cycle, ownership can pencil out, especially if you buy well, add value, and hold. Mortgage at Queenstown-Lakes. The outlier: spectacular and expensive. Median rent about $3,566 per month. Average value near $1.86 million. 20% deposit, $372,000. Mortgage at 4.8%, roughly $7,800 per month. Monthly gap about $4,041. Price to rent ratio, 43 years. Takeaway: on cash flow, renting dominates in 2025. People who buy here are usually committing for lifestyle, long horizons, or specific income plans. If you're buying to live, stress test your budget with generous buffers. Quick city scoreboard. Renting wins on cash flow in all 7 cities under today's assumptions. The tightest gaps: Dunedin, Wellington, Hamilton, and Christchurch. The widest gaps: Auckland, Tauranga, and by far Queenstown-Lakes. Price to rent is highest in Queenstown and Auckland, lowest in Dunedin and Wellington, which tracks with what we'd expect. Why the rate you lock matters. At a 4.8% one-year fixed special, Auckland's mortgage on the average home is about $5,109 a month. If rates slip to 4.5%, that falls to roughly $4,943. At 4.3%, it's around $428. It helps, but even with lower rates, the rent-to-own gap in the larger, pricier centers remains meaningful. This is why hold period matters so much. The longer you own, the more principal you pay down, and the less rate moves dominate your overall outcome. Beyond the mortgage, real-life costs. Owning a home isn't just the mortgage. You'll also budget for council rates, house insurance, life or income cover if you choose, and ongoing maintenance. Some years are quiet, other years bring a roof repair, a water cylinder, or an exterior repaint. On the rent side, your risk is different. Rental volatility, renewals, and the possibility your place is sold and you have to move. Renting gives you flexibility. Owning gives you control. Where buying can still make sense in 2025. Buying can make sense if these sound like you. You can stay 7 to 10 years or longer and you're happy to set down roots. You have a stable income, an emergency buffer, and room for ownership costs beyond the mortgage. You value school zones, certainty, and being able to improve your home without permission. You can buy a quality property in a good location, even if it's a smaller home at first. You're planning to hold through cycles, not flip on guesswork. If that's your plan, cities like Christchurch, Hamilton, and parts of Wellington and Dunedin look the most approachable on 2025 cash flow. You're paying a premium to own, but it's a manageable one for many households, and principal paydown steadily narrows the gap. Where renting likely still wins. Renting makes a lot of sense if your time horizon is under 5 years. You expect a job change, city move, or visa change. You're still building your deposit and want to invest it elsewhere for now. You prefer flexibility and choice over settling on one street and one school catchment. In Auckland, Tauranga, and Queenstown-Lakes, the monthly premium to own is big enough in 2025 that renters keep more cash in hand, often thousands per year, while maintaining flexibility. The price to rent lens. A simple way to think about it. How many years of rent equal the price of the average home? Queenstown-Lakes, about 43 years. That's a long payback period. Classic buy for lifestyle, not yield. Auckland, about 36 years. High ratio, high mortgage. Renting's advantage is clear on cash flow. Tauranga, about 29 years. Strong lifestyle demand keeps values elevated relative to rents. Christchurch, about 28 years. More balanced, which is why it shows up as a realistic buyer's city. Hamilton, about 27 years. Wellington, about 26 years. Dunedin, about 25 years, the lowest of the group. Lower ratios tilt toward better value for owners over long horizons. Higher ratios tilt toward better value for renters, at least on monthly outgoings. 4 rules to decide fast. Rule 1, know your horizon. Under 5 years, renting usually wins. 7 to 10 or more, Buying starts to shine if you buy well. Rule 2. Stress test the refix. If your rate jumps by 1 percentage point at refix time, can you still sleep at night? If not, it's not the right time or the right property. Rule 3. Budget the hidden costs. Ownership needs a maintenance line in the budget, even if it's a modest one. Renting needs a moving fund for when life changes. Rule 4. Don't chase the peak or the trough. Buy the right home, not the perfect rate. Over a decade, your principal paydown matters more than today's exact number, provided you can comfortably afford the payments from day one. City-by-city verdicts in one line. Auckland. Renting wins on monthly cash flow by a wide margin in 2025. Wellington. Close call. Renting still cheaper, but long-term owners can justify the step up. Christchurch. One of the most balanced buy cases right now. Hamilton. Similar to Wellington, manageable premium to own if you're committed. Tauranga. Renting still decisively cheaper monthly, buy for lifestyle and long holds. Dunedin. The gap is narrow. Determined first-home buyers can make it work. Queenstown-Lakes. Renting dominates cash flow. Buying is a lifestyle and long-horizon decision. If you're trying to decide this year, focus on your time frame, your budget, and your tolerance for surprise costs. The national headlines don't pay your mortgage. Your numbers do. Tell me your city, your deposit, and the rate you expect to lock. I'll run a personalized 2025 rent versus buy calculation, monthly payments, cash flow gap, and a simple payback timeline, so you can decide with confidence. If real numbers like these help, tap like so more Kiwis see it. And hit subscribe for city-by-city updates through 2025.